This is Bre Irish with KORC News, Music, and Civics. Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse at the Minneapolis VA healthcare system, was murdered by U.S. Border Patrol officials on January 24, 2026. Pretti was another victim of Donald Trump's paramilitary squads and their extrajudicial executions. Alex Pretti was a brave and selfless hero until the end, standing up to the brutality that they were inflicting on an innocent woman. His last act was to extend a hand to somebody on the ground and ask, "Are you okay?" Alex Pretti is only the latest person to die at the hands of immigration agents. There have been at least 8 people who have been murdered at the hands of the immigration agents between July 2025 and January 28, 2026. That does not even account for the people who have died in the concentration camps. We know of at least 35 people, but that is an absolute undercount. On Tuesday, January 27th, there was a vigil outside the Benton County Courthouse to mourn the loss of Alex Pretti and all the other heroes that have died at the hands of the immigration jackboots that have been allowed to run rampant in our country. I interviewed 2 nurses, Tyler and Mary, who attended the vigil to mourn the loss of their fellow nurse. This is Bre Irish with KORC News, Music, and Civics, and I'm outside the Benton County Courthouse at a vigil for Alex Pretti, the nurse that was recently murdered by ICE in the streets of Minneapolis. And I'm here today with Tyler McCarty.
Hello, I'm Tyler McCarty. I'm a nurse in the community. I'm a member of the ONA, the Oregon Nurse Association.
Hi, Tyler. Can you tell me a little bit why you're here, especially being a nurse?
I'm here because as nurses, we are at our strongest when we're standing with one another. And it doesn't matter if it's here in Oregon. It doesn't matter if it's in Minneapolis. As nurses, we stand with each other. And when one of us is murdered, you don't mess with nurses. We are a big part of what makes this country run. We take care of everyone, no matter who they are, no matter what happened to them. And he was killed taking care of someone, so we're with him.
That was something I was going to ask about. If you had seen the video and other folks listening to this had seen the video, and what from folks just watching the video, it appeared that he was protecting a woman who was being targeted by the ICE officials in Minneapolis, and a lot of folks online had cited that as part of a nurse's code of ethics, essentially, that if there is somebody to help and somebody to protect, that it's their duty to do so.
Yes, that's absolutely right. It is part of our code of ethics. I think it's really telling about who he is that his last words were, "Are you okay?" Trying to take care of someone in need. And unfortunately, that's what led to his death, and that's not okay. None of this is okay. We've all seen the video. We've all witnessed this. And I can tell you, the nurses that I work with, doesn't matter their political belief, they're angry about this because nurses face a lot of violence in the hospital, and now I guess they're going to be facing it outside of the hospital as well. And if nurses aren't safe, no one's safe.
Well, in the process of doing your duties as a nurse, there are many opportunities where harm can come to you in the process of doing your duties as a nurse. And how have you dealt with those threats? Because folks are making that comparison between nurses being able to do their jobs in dangerous conditions, and these ICE officials appear unable to do that same thing.
Yeah, you're right about that. Nurses, healthcare workers in general, when we are encountering someone violent, we work together as a team and we de-escalate the situation without violence. Never in my career have I faced violence from a patient and had that end with the patient dying. In the times where a patient does die, we come together and we look at everything that happened and how to prevent that every single time, because like you said, it's part of our code of ethics. We do not want to hurt anybody, and that doesn't seem to be the case with ICE. They seem to only want to hurt people, and nurses, we're not going to stand for that.
Now, for I have some questions for your own personal political opinions. What do you want to see from our elected leaders regarding ICE and the funding of ICE? And do you think that training would help the situation, or body cameras? Because those are some of the solutions that have been floated this week by lawmakers.
So I would like, personally, not speaking as a union member, not speaking as an employee of a hospital, but personally, I don't think this ends without prosecutions, public trials, prosecutions of people at every level. Defunding doesn't work because a year ago, both parties, not even a year ago, a few months ago, both parties voted to thank ICE for what they're doing. Body cameras can be turned off. I personally believe that what we see, the brutality we're seeing, that is their training. And I think more money is going to enable that.
Absolutely. And do you have something to say, a message to our elected officials here in Oregon? We're in Corvallis here, so it'd be Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley and Congresswoman Hoyle.
I'd say it's time for you to step up, meet the moment. We have seen failures at every level from every party, Democrats included. The Democratic leader refused to whip votes to defund or to stop the bill to fund ICE. And when the Democratic leaders aren't standing up, then the rank and file Democrats have to, because we're out here in the streets. We're standing up. It's time for Jeff Merkley, Ron Wyden, everybody here in Oregon to step up, to take the reins of this party and force the change that we need. Otherwise, Americans, immigrants, they're all going to keep dying. They're all going to be taken from their families. It's just going to keep happening. So I'm asking them to please meet the moment, see what we want, and work to change what this evil that's happening in our country.
And one final question, again, asking you in your personal capacity and not a representative of your union or your workplace. Folks have brought up the possibility of a general strike, a nationwide general strike. How do you feel about that?
I would fully support that. I think the best way to basically make our will apparent is by costing them money. And if we can come together as one and say, hey, we will not keep this country running, we will not spend money here, we will not do our economic duty unless you listen to us, unless you make this stop, I fully support it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is Bre Irish with KORC News, Music, and Civics. I'm out here outside of the Benton County Courthouse at the vigil for Alex Pretti, the nurse that was killed in the streets of Minneapolis by ICE. I'm here with Mary Crawford C. Katz. Hi.
C. Cates.
C. Cates.
Hi.
And so can you talk to me a little bit about what brought you out here tonight?
Yes. So as healthcare providers, we provide care for anybody and everybody that walks through the door, and it's upsetting to realize that, first of all, they're starting to do something that never was done before, which is invade spaces that have been safe places, and one of those is healthcare. And we've seen recently a family that was prevented from taking their daughter to a hospital up in Portland for an ongoing nosebleed because they got picked up by ICE in the parking lot. So as a healthcare provider, I'm very concerned. And of course, a healthcare provider was a nurse who got killed doing what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to stand up for everybody. We're supposed to get out there. We're supposed to bear witness to what's going on. And as healthcare providers, we aren't done at the end of the day. We are 24/7. This is us. And so I feel like we're here because, first of all, we're mourning the loss of a fellow worker. And we also need to stand up to say this is not right. And that's why I'm here.
And you mentioned, I was going to ask you, in folks who have seen the video of his murder, the last thing that he did was ask the woman if she was okay, that he intervened to protect. Can you talk about that? Because it looks like you are getting a bit emotional as I'm talking about this, because it is an extremely emotional and impactful thing. as a nurse who is charged with taking care of people and making sure people are okay, and then there are folks making comparisons between nurses and a lot of times the violence that nurses face doing your duties as a nurse, and still nobody comes out of that situation murdered, right? And making comparisons to the ICE officials who clearly did not have the same training or whatever you may say with that, with regard to that. Can you talk a little bit about that and the comparisons that they're making?
Well, first of all, he was executed because he was down on the ground. They'd already taken his gun away compared to that, which he wasn't brandishing in the first place, and they shot him in the back while he was on the ground, according to what is viewable. Yes, he was a nurse to the end, and most people being nurses it's a calling, and we will protect and take care of people. That's why for so many years we've put up with the violence that we get on the job. We get hit, we get, fought against. Sometimes it's deliberate, a lot of times it's not deliberate on the person's part, but we're there to take care of them no matter what, and that's why we do what we do. And to have people who should know better, they're quote-unquote law enforcement, they're not the same as the police. They're not the same as our first responders at all, because they're doing things that are not appropriate as far as I'm concerned, as far as law enforcement goes. And we can't trust them, and we should be able to trust them to do things right. And we're still fighting to have the violence against nurses recognized as criminal acts. And this is just horrible and horrendous for something like this to happen, and I don't know what else I can say about it.
No, absolutely. Just a couple more questions for you. Some of the solutions, I'm putting air quotes around this, solutions that some of our elected officials have been making with regard to, what they're going to do to rein ICE in. And one of the things that they had mentioned was to bar ICE from schools and hospitals. And you mentioned the family that was abducted, trying to seek care for their 7-year-old daughter. Right. How do you foresee the impacts of healthcare, not only on the nurses and the workers themselves, but also on people feeling safe to get the care that they need, especially when they're going into our hospital and our healthcare settings?
Right. So they're not going to seek healthcare. They're going to wait until they're desperate, because they're going to be in worse shape, because they're afraid, and people aren't leaving home. It's just terrible. The churches and schools and healthcare places are supposed to be safe. They're supposed to be someplace that anybody can go to, because we all provide for anybody. We don't care where you come from. You're a human being, and to have this happening there's just no words for it, how horrible it is. And it's going to cause a lot more people to die, because they're not going to seek health care because they're afraid.
And what do you want to see from our elected officials? We're here in Corvallis, and so it's Senator Merkley, Senator Wyden, and it's Congresswoman Hoyle here, but you work at Lebanon Community Hospital, right. And so that would be Congresswoman Bynum. And Congresswoman Bynum actually in her past had thanked ICE, showed her appreciation for ICE. How do you feel about that, and what do you want to see more from your elected officials?
I want them to see that they refuse to vote for things that give ICE free hand. They need to vote for control over what ICE is doing and oversight, and they need to be voting in a way that enforces that, whether that successfully causes it to happen because of the balance in Washington, but they still need to stand with us, and they need to vote against anything that provides ICE this free hand and the ability to just not be accountable, and that's what I want to see.
And not asking you to speak for your union, speaking as an individual, there has been talk nationwide of engaging in a nationwide general strike to fight against this. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a great idea. I think that everybody needs to stand up. I mean, if everybody was standing up, just standing. I'm not saying get violent. I'd say no, peaceful, standing and singing songs. It's amazing how that can affect things and make a change. And it will take everybody getting involved. We have to. We've got to save our constitutional rights. And if we don't, complacency is the same as saying it's okay. And my father was a World War II bomber pilot, and I grew up knowing what happened in World War II and Germany and all that, and we don't need to go there. We need to learn from history and not let it repeat itself. But yeah, I think a general strike would be a great idea.
Awesome, thank you. You just heard 2 interviews from Mary and Tyler outside of the Benton County Courthouse at the vigil, remembering and mourning Alex Pretti, who was recently murdered by immigration agents in the streets of Minneapolis in cold blood. This is KORC.